Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're looking at the new cards for the next expansion in Hearthstone, the Boomsday project. So to look at the new cards, you go to My Collection, you click Crafting, click over here Include Uncraftable Cards, and click over here for the Boomsday project. And so we've looked at all 9 of the hero classes. About the first 4 of the hero classes made sense for what was being added, and honestly at this point I've kind of forgotten all the cards that I've seen which was about 90 cards. And now we're going to look at the neutral cards and see if any of these ring some bells and start to feel like they might synergize with some of the neutral class card with the character class cards. Generally speaking, I think we're going to see a lot of mechs, and that's kind of it. We'll see some magnetism. We might see an Omega character. We're not going to see any quests. We're not going to see any hero replacement cards. I don't believe there are any neutral spell cards, so it really is just going to be minions. Minions, if they have anything, they're going to have Rush. They're not going to have Charge, and they're probably not going to have anything else except for maybe Death Rattle. We saw some focus on Death Rattle. Now I'm going to kind of try and rush through this a little bit quicker. So the first minion we have is a 1-mana, 1-attack, 3 health minion called the Crystallizer. Battlecry, deal 5 damage to your hero, gain 5 armor. Almost certainly this should be a warrior card, but it's neutral. Although I would kind of like to see all the character class cards, if they can become neutral cards, just become neutral cards. Next we have a 1-mana, 1-attack, 1 health mech minion called the Faithful Lumi. Battlecry, give a friendly mech +1/+1. I think we're going to see at least 15 mech cards in the neutral category, so you can have a full mech deck. But I'm not sure, depending on which character class, if that's really worth it. Seems like the warrior in particular probably is. Next we have a 1-mana, 0-attack, 2 health mech called the Goblin Bomb. Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to an enemy hero. So if you have a Death Rattle doubler and you're playing wild, so if you have something like Baron Rivendell, this would do 4 damage to the enemy hero. Pretty good deal then. Probably a decent deal even without that if you're playing a mech only deck. Although maybe you don't need to actually play a mech only deck. Next we have a 1-mana, 1-attack, 1 health mech. That's about as basic of an attack and health as you could get for 1 mana. Called the Mekaroo. Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Joey bot, so it's like a mechanical kangaroo. It's actually a pretty good deal because of the 1/1 Joey bot. Next we have a 1-mana, 1-attack, 1 health mech called Skaterbot, which has magnetic and rush. So generally speaking, I don't think rush is going to help you with a 1/1 because you're just going to kill it on the first turn, and generally speaking, if you play a minion, rush it out and kill it in the first turn, you've played it poorly. But this does have some value with being magnetic and where it could merge to another mech. Yeah, I think generally, yeah, if you were going to pick this one versus this one, you'd be making a mistake. You should probably take this one because of the magnetic. Next we have a 2-mana, 1-attack, 2 health minion called the Clock Scale Chemist. It's not a mech. It has stealth and divine shield. Interesting. We could certainly use another divine shield, and stealth has certainly been ignored for a while. Although, yeah, there could be a whole expansion focused around stealth, honestly. Next we have a 2-mana, 1-attack, 2 health mech called Galvanizer. Battlecry, reduce the cost of mechs in your hand by 1. Certainly a good card if you're playing an all mech deck. Play this twice because you could have 2 copies, or find a Battlecry doubler, which I'm pretty sure there is one on. I need to look for it. and you could reduce it maybe as much as 4. Next we have a 2 mana, 2 attack, 1 health mech called the Spark Engine. Battlecry, add a 1/1 spark with rush into your hand. We've seen these 1/1 sparks as a character concept in some other cards. They're not terrible, but they're kind of not great either, because you seems like you'd have to spend at least 1 mana to summon them, and a 1/1 with rush just gets you back to the problem with that card. Let's see. Next we have a 2 mana, 2 attack, 2 health minion called the Toxicologist. Battlecry, give your weapon +1 attack. That almost certainly should just be a rogue card, because rogue is really the only character class that can poison or increase the damage on your weapons very easily. I guess it's fine as a neutral card, and very few of these decks have many weapons anyways. Next we have a 2 mana, 2 attack, 4 health mech called the Unpowered Mauler. Can only attack if you cast a spell this turn. That seems like that's too much of a hassle. You could silence this card and then attack, but then it's still not really worth it for what you're getting. It's basically a card that you play just so that you had 1 more mech in your deck. Kind of the same case here. We have a 2 mana, 1 attack, 5 health mech, the upgradable Framebot. It literally has no description. This may be the only card we get in this entire expansion that doesn't have a description. Generally speaking, it would be a classic card that this would already exist and just have like no description. People find these kind of cards boring. The idea here, of course, is to use a magnet card on this and then add features to it, and you start with a pretty good structure of 5 health for 2. But you pretty much have to play that with a mech deck and a magnet card. We have a 2 mana, 2 attack, 1 health minion called the World Glider. Battlecry, summon a 0/2 Golden Bomb. We still don't know what the Golden Bomb does. I assume it does some damage as a death rattle to the enemy hero, but I could be wrong. It could just do random damage to an enemy or random damage to any character. Who knows? Or it may not do anything. It might introduce a new concept where sometimes it goes off, sometimes it's a dud. That would be interesting, but we'll have to wait and see. Next we have a 3 mana, 3 attack, 4 health beast, which this is the first non-mech minion we've seen, called the Augmented Elk. Whenever you shuffle a card into a deck, shuffle in an extra copy. That certainly would be useful in a few different places, and by making it a neutral card, you could actually use it in a few different places like the Paladin deck, where in particular I think it might work well. Next we have a 3 mana, 3 attack, 1 health minion called the Brainstormer. Battlecry, gain +1 health for each spell in your hand. This almost feels certainly like a mage only card. Next we have a 3 mana, 1 attack, 5 health mech called the Bronze Gatekeeper. It has magnetic and taunt, so if you were to play this with this, you then would have a 2/10 with taunt on your 5th turn, which is not terrible. Next we have a 3 mana, 3 attack, 3 health minion called the Electro Right. Battlecry, if you're holding a spell that costs 5 or more, gain +1/+1. Even in a mage deck, I would think this is probably not worth playing as a card. Next we have a 3 mana, 2 attack, 2 health mech called the Kaboom Bot. Death Rattle, deal 4 damage to a random enemy minion. Yeah, I could see playing this particularly in a mech deck, but I could also see maybe playing it not in a mech deck. The thing is, it doesn't have a taunt, so it'd be really easy for the other player to just not attack this guy ever. Next we have a 3 mana, 2 attack, 1 health minion called the Microtech Controller. Battlecry summon 2/1/1 microbots. Again, no clue what microbots are. I assume they're just 1/1 minions. And this is one of those cases where these characters seem to be getting reused under different names, because I've definitely seen this character in other cards. So the animations are getting reused, which kind of makes sense and kind of doesn't. Next we have a 3 mana, 2 attack, 1 health mech called the Spring Rocket. Battlecry, deal 2 damage. It's probably not too bad. Doing 2 damage and getting to pick where it plays gives you some more control. It's a 2/1, which is a little weak, but it's also a mech, so if you're playing only mechs, that makes sense. Kind of this entire expansion only makes sense if you're playing only mechs. Otherwise, you're getting very few cards that you're going to add to your current gameplay. Next, we have a 4 mana, 4 attack, 4 health mech called the Coppertail Imposter. Battlecry gains stealth until the next turn. Feels like there's only 2 or 3 stealth cards in this expansion. Next, you have a 4 mana, 3 attack, 2 health mech called the Explodinator. Battlecry summon 2 golden bombs. Again, don't know what a golden bomb does. Then we have a 4 mana, 5 attack, 6 health legendary minion called the Harbinger Celestia. Stealth. After your opponent plays a minion, become a copy of it. That seems kind of crazy. Like, I don't see how anybody is going to successfully play this, because your opponent would just not have to not be paying attention, basically. Clearly, you would play a super weak card after this was on the field, so it became a copy of a super weak card. Next we have a 4 mana, 2 attack, 6 health minion called the Omega Defender. Interesting that we have an Omega character in the neutral. I thought they would all be class specific. Taunt, Battlecry, if you have 10 mana crystals, gain 10 attack. That's really good. I could see playing this on the 10th turn and needing to do 10 or less attack and trying to win. I could see playing this on the 10th turn and just needing a decent 2/6 taunt, and that working out very well too. That's probably one of the best cards in the expansion. Next we have a 4 mana, 4 attack, 3 health mech called the Piloted Reaper. As a death rattle, summon a random minion from your hand that costs 2 or less. I don't think so. Nothing really special there. There is a legendary card that if you have 3 mechs on the field at the end of the turn, you summon basically Voltron, which is back on Netflix, and people are kind of cool about it. The new version. So now that there's so many mechs and you can build an entire deck just full of mechs, if you have that legendary card, you should definitely put it in your deck and play. Next we have a 4 mana, 3 attack, 1 health mech called the Replicating Menace. It's magnetic. We haven't seen as many magnetic cards as I would have thought. Death Rattle, summon 3/1/1 mech microbots. Next we have a 4 mana, 5 attack, 1 health mech with rush called Steel Rager. It just has rush though, so okay. That still has the similar problem of it'll rush and maybe kill something with 5 health, but it'll kill itself too. On the 4th turn, that makes a little bit more sense than the 1st or 2nd turn. Next we have the 4 mana, 4 attack, 3 health mech called the Weaponized Pinata. It has a death rattle to add a random legendary minion to your hand. which is pretty random. But that being said, I could see you putting this in almost any deck and it making sense. It's not particularly low on health. It's going to give you a random legendary. You could play 2 of these pretty easily. So this would be a target to collect when opening the 150 plus card packs that I'm going to open when the new expansion happens. Next, you have this 4 mana, 4 attack, 5 health legendary minion called Whizbang the Wonder Fruit. You start the game with one of Whizbang's wonderful decks. Now, I don't know if this is accurate, but according to Kriperian, who is a YouTube Hearthstone player or a Twitch Hearthstone streamer, the decks are going to be picked from the deck recipes of the different character classes, and I don't think it's going to include the classic deck recipes. So there will be 18 different deck recipes that you can't change. They're just the recommended things that they show you when you try to build a new deck, and you could play with that instead of whatever cards you have. This card makes sense for new players and basically nobody else. If you don't have better cards, play this. If you do, don't play it, certainly. You can't really dance around getting one of Whizbang's wonderful decks. I was kind of hoping, though, that you would just get a random collection of a deck with just some crazy cards in it. But that's not what Kriperian says, and he probably knows better than me. Next, we have a 5 mana, 3 attack, 3 health minion called the EMP Operator. Battlecry, destroy a mech. I don't think anybody should play this. If you're playing a mech deck, it makes no sense. If you're playing against somebody and you're running into a lot of mech decks, it still doesn't make sense. Next, we have a 5 mana, 2 attack, 1 health minion called the Giggling Inventor. It has a battlecry to summon 2 1/2 mechs with Taunted Divine Shield. So that would make this effectively a 4/5 split between 3 minions, and 2 of them have Taunted Divine Shield. This is a tough decision. I could see playing it, but it's right on the edge. Because of just how expensive it is. Next, we have a 5 mana, 3 attack, 3 health minion called the Holomancer. After your opponent plays a minion, summon a 1/1 copy of it. Interesting. Like, probably not going to succeed or do anything helpful in most cases, though. Next, we have a 5 mana, 6 attack, 6 health beast minion called the Loose Specimen. Battlecry deals 6 damage randomly split amongst all other friendly minions. So it's just friendly minions that are going to get damaged, not enemy minions. It's funny, in this expansion I'm only seeing mechs and I'm only seeing beasts. Which I think when I looked at these cards originally as they were being announced, that was also what I was getting from it. They're not really expanding any of the other character classes like pirates or anything like that. Next, we have a 5 mana, 2 attack, 6 health mech called the Rusty Recycler. It has Taunt and Lifesteal. We didn't see a lot of cards with Lifesteal either. It's probably a fine card if you don't have anything better. Next, we have a 5 mana, 5 attack, 5 health minion called the Sea Forum Bomber. Yeah. Battlecry, shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck. When it's drawn, it explodes for 5 damage. I suppose that is 5 damage to the enemy hero. This is a good card to play, I think, regardless of what other cards you have. and if you can get a battlecry doubler, which is what I'm going to look for after this, that would even improve it more. Next we have a 5 mana, 4 attack, 4 health beast called Subject 9. It's a legendary card, which means you can only have 1 in your deck. As a battle cry, add 5 different secrets from your deck. Draw 5 different secrets from your deck. So if you're playing Secret Hunter and you want to play 5 more secrets, you could play this. Honestly, I'd imagine this isn't as helpful as you would think, but it might be crazy enough to play with every now and then. Next we have a 5 mana, 5 attack, 5 health mech that has magnetic called War Gear. That's all it has though, is magnetic. Which is fine, it's still probably a good card. Next we have a 5 mana, 3 attack, 2 health mech called Zillax. It's magnetic, divine shield, taunt, lifesteal, and rush, which is basically everything. I suppose it's worth pointing out that Amalgamation was a card that was recently introduced, and it acts as any kind of card, including a mech, I believe. I should double check that. So if you want to play something else, or you just don't have another mech card and you really want another mech card, play Amalgamation. Or if you need another Murloc, play Amalgamation. Next we have a 6 mana, 3 attack, 4 health minion called Arcane Dynamo. Battlecry, discover a spell that costs 5 or more. We have a 6 mana, 5 attack, 12 health mech, that's a lot of health, called the Damage Stegatron. It has taunt, but it has a battlecry to deal 6 damage to this minion, so you'd almost have to play this on a priest deck, something that could heal it back up. Next we have a 6 mana, 2 attack, 2 health mech called Mechanical Whelp. Death Rattle, summon a 7/7 Mechanical Dragon. Again, if you have Baron Rivendell and you're playing in Wild, that doubles the Death Rattle. Otherwise, I'm not really sure this is worth playing, but maybe. Like, a lot of these mechs are just barely worth playing in the idea of having mechs so you can play the magnetized cards, and the magnetized cards are getting highly favored in a deck that would require building around this. Next we have a 6 mana, 4 attack, 4 health mech called the Missile Launcher. Magnetic, at the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all other characters. We have a 6 mana, 5 attack, 1 health mech called Spark Drill. It has Rush and a Death Rattle to add 2 1/1 sparks with Rush to your hand. And we're gonna jump right over 8s. There are no 8s, and it seems like there's only 1 9 and 1 10. So most of these cards are closer to 5th turn plays than they are 10th turn plays, which is fine because generally speaking you don't get to a 10th turn play if you're playing well. Next we have a 7 mana, 7 attack, 7 health minion called the Starliner. Battlecry, if you control 3 minions with 7 health, deal 7 damage to all enemies. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna have that happen very often. Even if you are playing mechs and you're playing magnetized and you're really making sure that you have minions with very high health, it doesn't feel like on the 7th turn you're likely to have 3 with 7 health. And even if you did have 3 with 7 health, there probably in that scenario are going to be very few instances in which the opponent needs to take 7 damage to kill those minions. I guess this also does 7 damage to the enemy hero, which is nice. Maybe you just keep this in your field, in your collection, just because it's a 7/7/7, which is a pretty balanced card. So I'd play this if you have something that has no special effect and is a 777. But you probably can find something better that synergizes more. Next we have a 9 mana, 9 attack, 7 health mech called Bulldozer as Divine Shield. That's basically all it has. And then the final card is a 10 mana, 10 attack, 10 health mech. They decided not to have any cards that cost more than 10 mana. It's a legendary card called Mechathune. Death Rattle, if you have no cards in your deck, hand, or battlefield, destroy the enemy hero. Well, that's kind of an amazing card, actually. But basically the only way you can guarantee this would happen is you'd have to play that card that says draw your entire deck and get rid of all the cards there, or wait a very long time and just play control until all your cards have been played out. You'd have to be able to put this on the field and keep it alive long enough to play any other cards in your hand, including almost certainly a card in your hand that would destroy this Mechathune. Or I guess maybe you don't need a spell to destroy him, because one way or the other you win, because this character would be attacking the face of the enemy hero. So if your opponent is not summoning something for you to attack and lower your health that way, you would win anyways. But you basically have to exhaust the opponent's strategy too. Let's see. So let's look at amalgamation just to double check. Yes, this is an elemental mech, demon, murloc, dragon, beast, pirate, and totem. And I imagine Nightmare Amalgam would also get replaced and changed if they introduced too many new things too. Let's look at Battle Cry then. So I'm looking at the wild cards to see if I can find a Battle Cry doubler card, which would be a card that doesn't start with the bolded Battle Cry phrase, but something else. Let's see. Yeah, and you really can't play Cthulhu if you're not playing wild. Enemy spells cost 0 next turn. These Prince series of characters really didn't play well at all. And I have this card, and I personally get rid of all the gold cards, so I don't know where that one came from. Turn that into dust, where I can make better use of it. It's a little difficult to read the cards. Whenever you summon a Battlecry minion while this is in your hand, gain +1/+1, so you could have a wild Battlecry deck around that card. A lot of Battlecry cards, certainly. And here's a classic card that still is pretty useful. A lot of classic cards are. That's why when I open the 150 plus card packs that I'm gonna open when the new expansion comes out, a lot of them have a good chance of being classic decks. Now this one can't be turned into dust because that's an uncraftable card. I'm pretty sure if there is a Battlecry doubler, I have that card. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure it even exists. Whenever you play a battle cry card, gain +1/+1. Yep. Let's see. Here's a mech you would probably want to play if you're playing wild. Is there seriously not a Battlecry doubler card? I definitely don't remember the name of it, so it's not something that I've ever thought about using. Still searching. Yeah, just looking at some of these classic cards, it's compared to the expansion, it's still a hard decision to try and play some of the new cards when some of the classic ones are a lot better. Like, for instance, Leroy Jenkins might be still worth playing. Still looking, still searching. This is a battle cry and a death rattle, and we know Baron Rivendell doubles death rattles, but I was fairly certain that there was a battle cry doubler card. It would have to almost certainly be a legendary card. Maybe Battlecry is just too powerful and that's why they haven't ever done that. This is a pretty good card, Spiteful Summoner. Let's see, I'm almost to the end. And I'm proving myself wrong. This is a pretty good card too. Battlecry, summon all the Death Rattle minions that have died this card. We have Yogg-Saron, cast a random spell for each spell that you cast this game, targets chosen randomly. And I believe that ends when he dies. So yeah, best I can tell, there is no Battlecry doubler. That's interesting. Let's see, VOL. I'm trying to see if I can find the minion that turns into Voltron. Might be V0L. Let's try that. V0L VO. If I type in 3 and then mechs, maybe I can. Here it is. Mimron's Head, a wild card. At the start of your turn, if you have at least 3 mechs, destroy them all and form V-07-TR-ON Voltron. So yeah, if you want to play a wild mech deck, that works for you, I guess. Honestly, I think Boomsday is better than Witchwood, but there's still a lot of things up in the air, and it feels like any cards I get are just going to be slightly added to existing decks. More and more I'm going to use hsreplay.net to push me to playing successful decks versus building my own for fun. Pretty much all you can build here would be mechs, and that's kind of it. Well, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. When you subscribe, please click the notification bell. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, I'm asking people to friend me on Steam and gift me a game or a gift card. You can pick any game you want to see me cover, or you can look at my wish list, or if you have a Steam code, you can direct message that to me through Twitter. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.